Once upon a time in the bustling city of Philadelphia, there lived a young man named Elijah. He had grown up in a close-knit, loving family and was the youngest of 4 siblings. His parents, Sarah and James, were devout Christians who instilled in their children the importance of faith and family values. However, despite his upbringing, Elijah struggled with a sense of identity and belonging. As a teenager, Elijah became increasingly curious about his African heritage. The stories of his ancestors intrigued him, and he yearned to learn more about their history and how it shaped his own identity. He was also deeply affected by the injustices and inequalities he saw within his community, and he struggled to reconcile the teachings of his faith with the world around him. One day, while walking home from school, Elijah came across a group of men dressed in colorful robes and head wraps, passionately preaching on a street corner. They spoke about the true descendants of the biblical Israelites and how African Americans, like him, were part of a lost tribe. As they shared their message, Elijah felt a surge of excitement and curiosity. Could this be the answer to the questions that had plagued him for so long? Elijah began attending the gatherings of the Black Hebrew Israelite movement. Their teachings offered him a newfound sense of purpose and belonging. He felt empowered by the idea that his people were chosen by God, and he eagerly absorbed their teachings. As he became more involved with the group, he started to adopt their beliefs, dress, and mannerisms. Elijah's family noticed the changes in him and became concerned. They worried about the radical ideas he was embracing and how they might affect his future. But Elijah, captivated by the movement, dismissed their concerns. He believed he had found the truth he had been searching for and was unwilling to consider any alternative perspectives. Elijah's psychological profile reveals a young man with a deep desire for a sense of identity and belonging. His curiosity about his heritage and the injustices he witnessed around him fueled his search for answers. The Black Hebrew Israelite movement provided him with a strong sense of community and empowerment, which helped him cope with feelings of vulnerability and marginalization. As Elijah continued to immerse himself in the movement, he became increasingly closed off to other viewpoints. His cognitive biases and motivated reasoning led him to defend the group's teachings, even when faced with evidence that contradicted their claims. The strong emotional appeal of the movement, combined with the psychological need for belonging, made it difficult for Elijah to question or critically examine the beliefs he had adopted. This story illustrates the journey of a young man searching for identity and purpose, ultimately finding solace in the teachings of the Black Hebrew Israelite movement. It also serves as a reminder of the importance of empathy, understanding, and open-mindedness when engaging with individuals who hold different beliefs or are part of controversial groups. Prepare to separate fact from fiction, truth from myth, as we shine a light on the teachings of the Black Hebrew Israelite movement. That's what comes up today on the Truth Be Told Project.
Let's go! Welcome to the Truth Be Told Project. We're helping you live by design, not by default.
Welcome, truth seekers, to a riveting journey through the world of the Black Hebrew Israelite movement. Today we'll shine light on their teachings, history, and the psychological factors that draw followers to this belief system. Our purpose here is twofold. We want to understand the movement's beliefs, and we also want to look at the psychological factors that contribute to this movement's appeal and its growth. There's no denying that this movement is fastly growing, and we're going to look into the psychological factors that contribute to that. When doing a study like this, it's always good to look at the psychological profiles of the followers and the leaders of these kinds of movements. Before we talk about this religion, organization, or movement, it's good to first know the origins of the religion or movement. The origins of the Black Hebrew Israelite movement can be traced back to the late 19th century in the United States, when various individuals and groups started to promote the idea that African Americans were the true descendants of the biblical Israelites. The movement has evolved over time, and today it is comprised of numerous factions, often referred to as camps. They have differing beliefs, practices, and organizational structures. Some key beliefs and practices that are common among Black Hebrew Israelites include observance of certain biblical laws, such as the Sabbath and dietary restrictions, the belief that African Americans are the true Israelites and that their suffering throughout history, particularly during the transatlantic slave trade, is a result of divine punishment for their disobedience to God. The expectation of a future redemption, which may involve the return of African Americans to their ancestral homeland in Israel, or the establishment of a new kingdom on earth. It is important to note that the beliefs and practices of the Black Hebrew Israelite groups can vary significantly, and not all adherents hold extreme or divisive views. Some groups may exhibit more aggressive rhetoric. You see them out there on the street corners just cussing people out or whatnot and insulting people. And not all groups that subscribe to some of the beliefs are like that. Others focus on spiritual development and fostering a sense of community among their members. This movement has been criticized for its exclusivist and sometimes controversial beliefs. Additionally, some camps within the movement have been associated with hate speech and anti-Semitic views. I want you to picture this. You live in a world where you often feel voiceless, misunderstood, and disconnected from your roots. Then suddenly you've been handed a narrative, a powerful story that ties you to ancient history, kings, prophets. It gives you identity, purpose, and a community that understands. This is the allure of the Black Hebrew Israelite movement for me. That's really at play beneath the surface. Let's dive into the psychological factors that make this movement so captivating to its followers. All of the members of movements like the Black Hebrew Israelites are minorities. They have a basic human need of identity and belonging. Our knowledge of African history is limited to American slavery most of the time, unless you really do your research. That may be perhaps one of the reasons why they find it unappealing to acknowledge their African roots. So nobody wants to be identified as a descendant of a slave person. They're going to immediately be drawn to powerful groups. Now, one thing that must be said is that they do acknowledge slavery, but what they do is they come with a historical revisionist explanation of why slavery happened to Africans, or Africans who are really Israelites. And their explanation is that they went into slavery because they did not keep the commandments of God. So having a sense of identity and a sense of rootedness to powerful individuals is one of the things that appeal to the followers of these kinds of movements. Another thing that could be appealing to followers of these kinds of movements is the sense of shared history and community. Human beings are social beings who crave a sense of belonging and connection, and these movements place a strong emphasis on a shared history and community. This provides a strong bond and a support system for its members. One of the things that we also have to put into consideration is that a lot of these people come from broken homes, broken families. They don't know what it means to be in community, but they know that they have a desire for being in community, having a sense of family, a sense of belonging, a sense of identity. And one of the things that I also notice about these movements is that the leaders and founders are typically older men. They're somewhat of a fatherly figure. They take the role of fathers when they give their children their identities. A lot of them take the names that these leaders give them, while also at the same time taking an identity that is given by them. Those are factors that we should put into consideration as well. That's also a factor that contributes to this movement's appeal. They offer those things, community and bonds. While the sense of identity and belonging plays a significant role in the movement's appeal, we now turn our attention to the factors of empowerment and control. One of the methods that they use to give their members a sense of empowerment and control, the leaders give them alternative explanations for their historical suffering and marginalization. Historical suffering and marginalization have been experienced by many communities throughout history, and the Black Hebrew Israelite movement offers an alternative explanation for such hardships, framing them within a divine plan and historical context. One of the key verses that they use in the Bible to utilize this method is Deuteronomy 28. The alternative explanation is this: Africans are really Israelites, and they were taken as slaves because they were disobedient to the laws of God and began to act like Gentiles. That's why they ended up in American slavery. So how do we get out of that? How do we become kings and priests again? Simply put, we need to be obedient to the commands of the Most High. And when we do become kings and priests again, we're going to repay the Americans, the Europeans, or the Edomites back for all the harm that they caused us. This gives them the sense of empowerment. And also another thing that gives them empowerment is being able to control their destiny. First of all, you have to acknowledge that you're an Israelite and keep the commands of God. Everything is going to work itself out. That is the gist of their empowerment right there. The feeling of being in control and overcoming adversity is one of the things that appeal to them as well. Individuals often seek a sense of control in their lives, especially in the face of adversity. The movement provides a framework that empowers its followers by offering a sense of control over their own destiny through adherence to its teachings. As we navigate the psychological factors contributing to the movement's appeal, we now explore the search for meaning and purpose. Imagine being lost in the middle of space, right? Stars everywhere, but you're just floating with no map, no direction. That's life for a lot of us. But deep down, we're all trying to find meaning. It ain't just about getting by day to day. It's about understanding our bigger role in this whole crazy journey called life. We all have a longing and desire to understand our purpose. One thing about life is that it has some fundamental questions about meaning and purpose, and this drives individuals to seek answers and guidance. The Black Hebrew Israelite movement presents a comprehensive belief system that offers answers and a clear purpose in alignment with their interpretation of Scripture. They have a way of explaining who they are, why they experience the things that they do. This is one of the things that appeals to the members of these movements. Another thing that appeals to a person's sense of purpose is the appeal of a divine plan and higher calling. Many individuals are drawn to the idea of a divine plan and a higher calling. The movement provides a sense of direction and purpose by positioning its followers as part of a divine mission to spread their beliefs and engage social change, more so change for minorities. They have the goal of waking up minorities to their true identity as Israelites. These are the factors that appeal to the followers. All right, y'all, we've unpacked the mindset of the members, or the psychological factors of the members, right? But let's switch gears for a sec. Dive deeper behind every movement's heartbeat, which is its leadership. So what's cooking in the minds of these leaders that's guiding the ship? Let's break it down. We often wonder, what is it about these movements? What is so magnetic about it? We can't look into that aspect without looking at the leaders of these organizations. These leaders exhibit a series of traits and behaviors that captivate control, and often exploit their followers. Two of the traits that these leaders often have is charisma and magnetic charm. Some individuals have an innate ability to attract. They have the ability to captivate. Their charisma oftentimes acts as a magnet, drawing people into their sphere of influence. It's charm that's almost mystical in nature. It's one of those things that they use to lure people in some ways that people present themselves as charming or charismatic is they would use things like humor. They would give the sense that they are good listeners and they listen to the people that they try to influence. Those are some of the ways that they can control people. Another trait that these leaders often have is the strong ability to captivate and persuade others, to see the world through their lens. They don't just lead, they shape beliefs, mold opinions, and redefine realities. And a lot of times, these opinions, these beliefs, and these realities don't make sense to us because we're not under the influence of these leaders. Also, a lot of times these leaders have exceptional communication skills and oratory prowess. Their words are not mere sounds, they are crafted art that moves hearts and minds. Their oratory skills that go beyond mere communication, reaching into the very souls of those people that listen. The leaders often have authoritarian and controlling behavior as well. Their charm has a dark side. Oftentimes utilize manipulative tactics to maintain their power and authority. Manipulation is an art, and these leaders are master artists. They maintain power not merely through persuasion, but through carefully orchestrated tactics that trap their followers in a web of control. These leaders often impose rigid rules and strict hierarchies within the group. If you will notice, a lot of them are referred to as bishop or the general, deacon. There's hierarchies within these organizations and these movements. The titles may be different within the different camps, but they often have a hierarchy within the organization. A lot of the leaders have narcissistic tendencies. They give off the idea that they are the saviors, that they are the ones who open the eyes of the people. A lot of times the founder or the general is seen as the beacon of truth. They are seen as the center of the universe.
There's no man on the planet Earth that has opened the Bible and brought it out to the capacity that the bishop has done it. That's why I admire the man. That's why I'm friends with him, and that's why I trust him. Because the greatest book on the face of the planet Earth, the Lord put the Spirit on him to go through it and take us to what you see in this room right now.
A lot of times these leaders have a constant need for admiration and validation. The leader's ego needs constant feeding. Admiration, validation, sometimes worship. These are the fuels that drive the engine of their self-importance. You got to stand when they walk in the room. Some of these events would, if you've seen them, it'll blow your mind.
Make some noise for Bishop tonight!
A lot of times these leaders will have some extraordinary beliefs and extraordinary visions. A lot of times they will claim special knowledge or divine revelation. They make claims that they have a unique connection to divine truth or a certain kind of knowledge that sets them apart from the members or those beneath them in the hierarchy of leaders. They also have a tendency to proclaim themselves as a messianic figure or chosen leader. They are not merely leaders, they are saviors, chosen ones, individuals with a divine mission. They give the idea that they may be a biblical figure that is reincarnated or that has come back in some kind of shape, form, or fashion.
But we're standing here today because, Bishop, you have been a father to many, like Abraham, a protector, a provider for the nation of Israel. That's who you are. Some people argue whether he's Elijah or whether he's Peter in the spirit. We don't know. Only the Lord knows. But what we can tell you is you are somebody special. You are somebody special. You are worthy of the title. You are worthy of leading the nation of Israel. To many of us, Bishop, speaking for myself, raised in a single family household, no father, Bishop, you have been the epitome of a father.
The leaders are also known for forming an exclusive and elite group with a unique purpose. They created an inner circle, an elite group chosen for a unique purpose, further bonding their followers to the leader's vision. And it's usually the chief leaders, usually the spokesmen or those who have been given a platform on YouTube, on television, or some other kind of social media platform. The leaders also have a tendency to isolate and control the information that they let their followers get a hold to. They have limited access to external information and dissenting views. When their views are challenged too much, they'll pack up and leave, or they'll tell their followers not to engage, and they would try to use some form of scripture or what have you to encourage them to not engage or to take hold of pagan ideas. These leaders are well known for promoting an us versus them mentality to maintain loyalty. This division between the inner circle and the rest of the world further isolates followers. You don't want to be a part of the 2/3 that's going to get destroyed. It's you against Christians. It's you against everybody else. It's you against opposing camps within the same Hebrew Israelite movement. Also, these leaders know how to emotionally manipulate and indoctrinate. They create an emotionally charged environment to heighten vulnerability. I've watched certain events and I watched their messages, and their messages are typically emotionally charged, meaning they focus a lot on American slavery, civil rights issues, racial profiling, police brutality, and stuff like that to emotionally charge and indoctrinate their followers. There are a lot of appeals to black rage. Remember what the white man did to you, these devils, all that kind of rhetoric. They are constantly fed that kind of information. Emotions are powerful motivators, and these leaders create environments where feelings run high, and this heightens their vulnerability. Also, these leaders are very good at instilling fear into their followers. There's fear being instilled in the followers if they consider leaving the organization or becoming something else. They don't want to be part of the 2/3, or they don't want to go to hell, or they don't want to be assaulted, because there are stories of people that choose to leave these organizations and these movements. They're assaulted and all kinds of harmful stuff are done to them. So a lot of times this is what keeps the members in the organization. And you will also notice that the leaders have a tendency to condition followers to suppress critical thinking, and they rely solely on the leader's teachings. They will always quote their leaders verbatim. And you know this is the case when you talk to multiple members and they all say the exact same thing, use the exact same scriptures. They're programmed to do that. You'll also notice that they escalate the demands and sacrifices that their followers are to make. They gradually increase commitments and demands on followers. Commitment grows over time, deepening emotional investment and binding followers ever more tightly to their leader. These leaders will often use rituals to deepen their followers' emotional investment. Rituals become pathways to deeper connection and deepening the follower's investment in the leader of the group. A lot of times these leaders would be involved in deceptive practices. They would a lot of times conceal the true nature of the group and its beliefs to its newcomers. Deception is a tool, and these leaders are adept at concealing the true nature of their group and their beliefs. Another thing that these leaders tend to do is misrepresent their past or their qualifications. The past is usually rewritten and the qualifications are exaggerated or invented. The leader's image is carefully crafted through deception. Some of them are not qualified to teach the Bible. They know nothing about the Bible's original languages. They qualify themselves through speaking a message that people want to hear. These leaders would lure individuals with false promises and offers of personal transformation. Promises of transformation act as bait in those that are seeking change, fulfillment, or meaning. Let me give you hope in the future. Let me give you a new identity. Let me tell you how to really change your life. Those are some of the things that they use to lure their followers in. Another thing that you will also notice is that the leaders react aggressively to dissent or criticism. They demonize critics. They demonize former members. They demonize former members to discredit their testimonies about being a part of the group. Critics are threats, and these leaders respond with demonization and discrediting. The Christian church is pagan. They're liars. It's the white man's religion. There's all kind of things that are said to demonize anyone in any organization with dissenting views or criticism. The members will react defensively and aggressively to any challenge to the leader's authority. Challenges are met with aggression, reinforcing the leader's authority and suppressing dissent. You speak against the leader of these organizations and you will get death threats. They will threaten you with physical harm, and some of them will even ask God to do something harmful to you because you are exposing something fraudulent about the leader. So the leaders are not the only ones that do that. The members do that as well. Another tactic that they employ is gaslighting. They employ gaslighting tactics to undermine the credibility of those who question the group. Psychological tactics like gaslighting are used to confuse, disorient, and undermine those who question or criticize. While the portrait we've painted today may seem alarming, it's essential to recognize these characteristics are not found uniformly across all charismatic or influential figures. It is the particular combination, intensity, and context that may signal potential harm. Critical thinking, a compassionate understanding of this group's dynamics. This is part 1. Part 2, we're going to examine the scriptures that are used to justify the teachings. We're going to look at what they really mean. I want to thank you for tuning in to the Truth Be Told Project. I'm your host, Mr. Truth Be Told to you. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like and share. I want to thank you for tuning in today. Peace.